Hey there, and welcome back to Plays Well with Butter. I'm Jess Larson, and today we're gonna make my best ever meatballs. These Italian-style meatballs are seriously rich and flavorful. They're made with beef and pork, a generous amount of aromatics, like fresh basil, onions, loads of garlic, and ricotta-soaked breadcrumbs create an amazing light and meltingly tender texture. They're baked, broiled, then finished in a simple tomato sauce, and you can serve them over pasta, stuff them in a sub, serve them alongside a salad, or enjoy them all on their own. They're endlessly versatile and absolutely perfect every single time. You're gonna be obsessed. Now, at my house, we are absolutely nuts for meatballs. They're my husband Chris's favorite food, and big ol' Italian-style meatballs were one of the first things I ever taught myself how to cook way back in college. So this is a recipe that I've been tinkering for over a decade at this point, and it results in what I think are the absolute perfect meatballs. They're rich and juicy, aromatic and flavor-forward, but they're totally meltingly tender. And in my experience, making the perfect meatballs all comes down to using a carefully crafted lineup of ingredients and smart technique, both of which this recipe has. So let's get started. So we're gonna start our meatball mixture by preparing the secret that makes these so perfectly meltingly tender. We're gonna make ricotta soaked breadcrumbs. And traditionally, meatballs are often made with panade, which is a combination of dried out bread and milk. And I personally don't always have dried out bread in my house. So I like to use panko breadcrumbs. They're really light and airy Japanese style breadcrumbs. And in lieu of milk, I use ricotta cheese. Whole milk ricotta creates the most light and fluffy texture in these meatballs. We're just going to mix the ricotta cheese right into our breadcrumbs. You might even want to use your hands to just get in there and make sure all of those breadcrumbs come into contact with that cheese, because they're going to absorb the moisture of the cheese and help create a super light and tender meatball. So you use your hands to help them along, and once it's all combined, you're gonna set this aside to rest for about 10 minutes, and in that time, those breadcrumbs are gonna soak up the moisture of the ricotta cheese, and it's just gonna add so much lovely light, airy texture to our meatballs. And while those breadcrumbs soak, I'm just gonna prepare the aromatics. So these meatballs have loads of aromatics, and it's one of the reasons that this recipe is so special. We're using our standards like onion, garlic, and Italian seasoning, but we're amping up the aromatic flavor with lots of fresh herbs. So I'm gonna chop up some fresh herbs really, really finely. I have parsley and basil here, and you just want really fine pieces so they mix evenly throughout the meatballs. And I'm telling you, you really don't want to skip on the fresh herbs here. They add so much light flavor that helps offset the richness of the beef and pork. I actually tested this recipe side by side with and without the herbs, and it's like a completely different dish with the herbs. So I really, really strongly suggest taking the time to grab fresh herbs from the store and chop them up super fine. I really like the combination of parsley and basil, but if you want to do all one or all the other, that totally works too. And once our aromatics are all prepped and ready to go, and our breadcrumbs have soaked in that ricotta mixture, you're ready to begin building the meatball mixture. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna add in most of the mix-ins. I have sauteed onion and garlic. Just soften them up in a little olive oil with some salt. I have about 1/3 cup of finely grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Pecorino Romano would be fabulous as well. A good 1/2 cup of my fresh herbs. I'm gonna crack in some eggs. 2 eggs. I'm going to use about 1 tablespoon of dried Italian seasoning. You can kind of run it between your palms like so to wake up some of the oils in the dried herbs. We will generously season with kosher salt, about 1.5 teaspoons. Oh, I can smell that Italian seasoning. Super fragrant. And then we'll crack in some black pepper. Before I add the meat, I'm gonna mix all of this together and get it into a nice even mixture. When it comes to making light and tender meatballs, it is really important not to overwork the meat. In overworking the meat, you actually take some of the natural air that's in the meat out because you're pressing it together, and that compacts it. So it yields in a really tough, kind of sad meatball, and we're after a beautiful light tender meatball. So by mixing in all of these mix-ins before we add in the meat, we're able to limit the amount of time that we have to handle the meat. This looks beautiful, evenly combined. And at this point, I'm going to add 3/4 pound of ground pork and 3/4 pound of ground beef. And I like using the combination of ground beef and ground pork, but if your grocery store sells a meatball mix that's ground beef, ground pork, ground veal, go for it. That will be delicious. And from here, we're just going to mix it until it's all combined. You don't want to overmix. That results in tough, chewy meatballs. So a good trick to think of as you're working it all together is when it all starts to feel about the same temperature. It's when you know you've mixed it just enough. I use my fingers and twist, and that helps bring everything together. Look how pretty that is with all the fresh herbs. So we're gonna just roll these out. You're gonna aim for a size that's a little bit bigger than a golf ball. This mixture yields about 16 to 18 2-inch meatballs. I also like just using a cookie scoop. Again, this helps us avoid handling the meat too much. So use the scoop to measure, get it into a nice ball shape, and repeat. Got all of our meatballs formed. They look so cute. I'm just finishing them off with a little drizzle of olive oil, and we're gonna pop these in the oven to bake at 425 for 10 minutes. You're gonna wanna make sure you have them on a rack that's positioned in the upper third of the oven, because after that 10 minutes, we're gonna flick the broiler on to finish the meatballs and give them a beautiful golden crust. We have our beautiful meatballs. I've just simmered them in a little quick tomato sauce. I use my favorite San Marzano tomato sauce. The recipe is on Plays Well with Butter. And then for some finishing touches, I always save these little baby basil leaves. They look so cute. And you can really show your guests what's in their meatballs. They're super fresh. And then you can't forget the cheese. Good grating of Parmigiano Reggiano, and you're ready to go. Now, I've made some pasta. That is how we love to have these meatballs, as spaghetti and meatballs, but they're super versatile. You can enjoy them on a salad. You can enjoy them all on their own. You can stuff them in a sub. You really can't go wrong, but you also can't go wrong with pasta. That's like my guiding principle in life. And we'll finish with some more fresh herbs. More cheese, of course. Look at that. Totally restaurant worthy, totally easy to throw together. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig right in. They give like no resistance, and that is a result of handling that meatball mixture well. That's a result of using those ricotta cheese, breadcrumbs, and then baking them so they get really nice and tender. And when I tell you that is a melt in your mouth meatball, I completely mean it. The flavor is amazing from those fresh herbs, but the texture is to die for. So go ahead, grab the full recipe on Plays Well with Butter. Everyone who tries them absolutely loves them, and I'm certain that you're going to too. But before you go, be sure to like and subscribe for more unfussy recipes that pack a big punch of flavor, and I'll see you next time.